Okay. I'd like to call the meeting of the Development Review Board to order, July 17, 2012. Let me introduce the members of the board present this evening. Charles Koukouris, Milt Surdam, Bill Barney, Ron Alderman, Barry Hurst. I'm Charles Kopp. Mike, 10 months. It's been so long. Dan Monks is our zoning administrator, and Nancy Lively is our recording secretary. Okay, Dan.
Okay, first item on the agenda this evening are minutes from last time, which was, I believe, way back in April.
Way back.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Ron. Charles seconds. Any comments? All in favor? Aye. You abstaining, Bill?
Yeah, abstaining.
Okay, Bill abstains.
Okay. We have a witness sign-up sheet right over there next to the microphone, and we ask everybody who speaks this evening to sign it. It includes the following oath statement. I solemnly swear or affirm under the pains and penalty of perjury that the statements I make, testimony I give, and other evidence I submit to the board at the board's public hearing held on this date shall be true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. And again, that's right across the way, so please sign that before you present evidence to the board this evening. Next item on our agenda is disclosure of any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest regarding any of the matters before the board this evening.
Is there any?
Seeing none?
Don't see any.
Okay. Everybody now are full-time voting members, so we don't have to worry about alternates anymore. So everybody votes on every hearing. Our first hearing this evening is Bennington Development at 200 North Street. As folks are seeking design plan approval for facade changes and signs at that location. It's the former Scott Mazda location. The Historic Preservation Commission did approve of the facade changes and the signs, and the application review panel did preliminarily review it. They didn't note any problems with it, but they wanted to have the applicant present their plan this evening to the board. And I believe Steve was...
Okay, Steve?
And then just before, the housekeeping things they say, apparently a site plan was not required
No,
to
just...
show parking and traffic law where they're going to park.
That's correct, because there's only changes to the exterior. There are no expansions or anything like that. So it's just...
Things like that.
Yes. It's just for the facade and the signs, because there's no change of use and there's no change in the building footprint.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
You could just stand
We haven't either.
Over by the microphone.
Or you can either stand or sit by the microphone. It's up to you.
I'll sit if that's all right.
Just
Does everybody have one of these?
Yes.
Everybody had a chance?
Just introduce yourself to the board, and then you can just let us know what you plan to do.
Okay, my name's Steve Rasinski, and I own Bennington Development, which is the property owner, and we plan to put a Chrysler store at 200 Bennington. If you look at the information you have ahead of time, you can see pictures. We included pictures of the site as it exists now. The fifth page is a fold-out of what we intend to make it look like. The page in front of that is just an itemized list of what the exterior materials that we're going to use will be. Any questions to this point?
Steve, go over what we've mentioned yesterday about the signs and the frame around it, what that actually is.
Okay. Yeah, the last 4 pages are the cut sheets from Chrysler that show the dimensions of the signage. The drawings of what we intend the front of the building to look like, it looks like the signs are separate on either side of the tower, but those are actually, that's an indentation in the fascia. It's not the sign. The signs are individual signs, like for example Jeep. That's 4 individual pieces for that sign. It's not all mounted on one big board that's going to be put on the building. So based on that information, if you look at the cut sheets for the signs, the square footage is accurate. There was a question about...
Okay, Ron.
So the lettering is not on a background.
Correct.
Everything is separate, no background. So yes, So apparently it's measured like a, what do you call it, a polygon or something like that? where
Right
it's-
around the letters themselves. Yeah, and the material is the same even behind the signs as the whole facade of the building. So
Right.
it's not even a different kind of material
No,
behind the
but
signs.
the lettering is not mounted on something. So how
Right,
can it
the
be,
ma-
how
the
can it be the
lettering-
same? but
Yeah,
not-
it is mounted,
Yep.
yes. The lettering is mounted.
The lettering is mounted on something else,
No, onto the,
just
on the-
onto the building.
Just onto the building, yes.
Correct.
And no back.
With no back.
Backing to it.
No
Right.
backing, it's not a different
Oh,
material.
no, it's not a sign that attaches to the building. It's just the building and then these
Signs.
get attached to
Oh,
it.
okay. And that brings it all into conformity then?
Yeah, it's they're right at about the right level, a little less than 60 square feet, which is the maximum they can have there.
Okay, good, thanks. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
Otherwise it'd be bigger.
Anyone from the audience like to speak on this matter? Yes, Barry?
What is the, did I miss it here? What is the overall height of the fascia in the front?
You know, that's a good question. I don't have that information with me. However, whatever is existing is the height that we're going to, with the exception of the Chrysler arch on the front of the building, and that's 24 inches, 2 feet taller than the existing.
Now, will that be shorter or less tall than the roof of the service department?
The service department is not changing at all.
In the
So
pic-
you'll still see the peak. Oh, you mean the arch itself?
In the picture that you have on page 5, the front portion is the portion where the facade is going to change, is that correct?
Yes.
And the service portion in the back will remain the same?
Correct.
And that looks like that roof is higher than the one in the front?
Yeah.
It is, yes.
I just wanted to confirm that.
Any other questions? Jim, need a motion? Charles?
Motion to approve?
Motion approved. Bill seconds.
Second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? We're all set, Steve.
Thank you, Steve.
Great, thank you.
Okay,
Do I need to do anything else?
nope, you're all set for this evening. We'll send you a notice with the approval.
Okay, thank you.
Next up on the agenda is the Bennington Area Chamber of Commerce. They're here seeking approval for their special event, the Garlic Fest. Was initially reviewed by the application review panel. They didn't have any problem with approving the event, at least for this upcoming year. The chamber has asked for something a little different this year. They have obtained information, or obtained permission from all of the property owners for the next 5 years to have the Garlic Fest, so they are asking for the board to approve this event for up to the next 5 years. I'll let Lindy take it away.
Yes, Lindy Lynch, and thank you for meeting with me yesterday. And at this point in time, we don't have any changes, as I indicated yesterday, for this year's event. And just hope more people will be able to make it after Hurricane Irene last year. We still had a successful event. And I think it was indicated from the property owners and some other folks it would be more convenient and save some money if we went ahead and asked for the 5 years, getting the signatures, putting out the postage and such. So we were just looking to make it a little bit easier on all by asking for the 5 years. And all the property owners, as indicated, said yes.
And we do have those written permissions on file, so just so everybody knows.
Yes, Mill?
My wife is on the board of directors, so I should recluse myself from this discussion.
Should, you think he should?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yes, yes,
Yeah, the 5-year thing, there could be changes in ownership of the butters during that time.
There could be.
I don't think we should be locked in to forcing them to do something they may or may not want to agree to 2 or 3 years from now. I think it should be a yearly application itself, for that reason.
Well, we can
yeah, go ahead, Bill.
put stipulations in that they can opt out.
And who can opt out?
That the homeowners, landowners, property owners,
Yeah.
within the 5 years, they could, if they like sell their property or whatever, they can abstain, or not abstain, but,
Yeah, but the permit runs with the property.
no, not in this case. I don't believe it does.
It does not
We
run
could put
with-
reasonable stipulations on it if we felt, like, if we want to have discussions about stipulations, we may want to have those in deliberative session, just make sure we get all the information from the applicant. Certainly, if a motion to approve it for this year, we could do that with a discussion regarding further approvals in deliberative session.
Okay, thank you.
Barry?
If there's no more questions of the application, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
I would move that we approve it for this year, and we close the hearing, go into deliberations for the 5-year.
Second.
Did you second it, Ryan? Okay. Charles, do you have any comments?
No.
All in favor? Okay.
So you're all set, at least for next year, and we'll let you know about
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, next item on our agenda is Southern Vermont College. They're seeking development plan approval for a new dormitory on the campus. This is the first of 2 required hearings, so this is a preliminary review. And we have a few folks here today to make the presentation.
Sign me in. Jim Secor and Jason Dolmetsch, MSK Engineering. We also have Jim Beckwith. Oh, sorry. Jim Beckwith, the acting president of Southern Vermont College, as well as John Cerrone, the business partners and developers of the project. Kind of seems like deja vu. It was like 3 or 4 years ago we were looking at the same project, except it's been up. Same location, right next to Hunter Hall. We asked for, we had shown on the previous prints the development area for this work project, which was also shown on the state permitting application. So it's directly located, just to get your orientation, between the Hunter Hall facility that we did a few years ago and the existing dorms up into the hillside. Project's going to consist of 138 bedroom spaces. Of course, Hunter Hall's right here. The old dorm complex, cafeteria, ponds down here. Same existing access roads going to be maintained. We're looking at a 3-story in the back and a 4-story in the front. The intention is that in this section, we're going to have 4 stories. Back section and 3 is going to be tucked into the hillside. The other thing that we're going to be able to accomplish with this project, the schools had issues as a public water supply system for standby chlorination. This is now going to tie in the dorm complex, the gym, as well as this project into a central water system, utilizing 2 existing wells that are on site at present. We're going to have limited parking, as shown on this section here, just for the ADA compliance requirements, as well as maintenance and delivery access. The school is enforcing a new policy for freshmen that they cannot have vehicles on campus, so no new additional parking lot expansions are required. The landscaping trees in this location, as well as down here around the parking areas to soften the effects off-site from the building structure. The courtyard and retaining wall area back here for recreational use. The stairways and pathways to connect to the existing pathway that was put in previously under the Hunter Hall around pond. Fire suppression system, this will have a full sprinkler, 13-hour sprinkler system. Luckily, we can utilize the holding tank that was put on site previously by adding some fire pumps, again, back in this facility. We have had discussions with the building inspector. There was some concerns raised by rural fire, Joe Hayes, which he just got back with us today. They've had some issues in the past with nuisance stripping problems up at Hunter Hall and some of the old dorms. Some of it was predicated because of some issues with detection location and steam tripping the things because the kids take hot showers up there. The school has agreed, we've sent a letter off to Dan that basically they're going to work with Joe for better training as well as better enforcement to solve that problem. One other concern that Joe had is that this is a 4-story structure in the front. Their ladders would not reach that 4th window height to get for emergency egress. Developers agreed to supply the fire department with a ladder system that will satisfy that need. Dumpster location is going to be down here, screened from off-site with the vegetation. Of course, municipal sewers on site. Any questions pertaining to the site plan at this time?
Any
We'll
questions?
get into stormwater and lighting next.
Yeah, Barry.
Jim, how do you get to the screened-in recycling area?
Well, we've already met with Pam, does their disposal now. So what they're going to do, they've got enough room to do this, and back into it, and come back around. And it's
Right off
there for 2 dumpsters.
right off the existed paved drive?
There will be little guardrail section here to connect to the outside, and the fencing area here, we expect that to be the point. Those will be the same fences that we did previously.
Any other questions? Jim, I have one question on your other drawing, 101. Under the information, you're getting good. 2.2, new access road, is this from the old drawing?
Yeah, that's the old one.
Okay, because I couldn't find the access road, okay. I got more. Go ahead, Barry.
I got a question on sheet drainage, stormwater. Does that come now, or are you going to? Okay, you're going. That's coming later. All right.
Any other questions on this drawing? Okay.
Photometrics. I just gave Dan, we just got the photometrics, if you didn't like the last one. So we got more. I tried to highlight this a little bit better because we superimposed these yellow ones on my print. Those are the existing pole fixtures that were installed under Hunter Hall. So I asked them to superimpose that so we get a better feel for the overall lighting of the site. These are vertical cutoffs. There's only going to be these 3 pole fixtures, and that's my pink back here, which will be back in the courtyard area. Those are going to be LED fixtures, double heads. They'll match exactly the same style of the fixtures that were put in under the Hunter Hall project. And they're also the same ones that they've run up the main road if anybody's been up there recently. And we've got the green are the Ballard fixtures. Again, they're all going to be LEDs. They're going to match as close as we possibly can to the bollards that were previously installed. They're black. They got a serrated top on them. That's like what was in the cut sheets that we supplied. I believe they're only 15 watts. I think on the submittals that I gave you originally, they were 30s. But they created too much of a hot spot, so we downgraded those to a lower wattage. And then the rest of them, there's the orange fixtures. Those are just under canopy lights. Again, they're going to be LEDs, and I believe those are 30 watts. 20 watts, I'm sorry. And then we've got one small LED that's going to be over a mechanical door in the back. All the lighting pretty uniform. We didn't see any severe hot spots that this need change. Any questions on the lighting?
Yeah, Jim, in the parking area, those amounts there, is that enough for the parking area?
Well, that's something that we wanted to bring up, and the developer is talking to the owner now to make sure that there's not a concern of security. The only thing that we're kind of falling back on is it's ADA parking, which is going to be very limited use. And the other slots aren't there for students, so it's there for maintenance and delivery, so it's really not going to be used when it's dark.
Okay.
So it's something that they're discussing now to see if they do want to augment a little bit of the light. And if they do want it, we'll bring that back at the next meeting. So right now, we're not planning on it.
Any other questions?
We did do, we did also supply in the package the relative elevations of the new building to the existing structures. That was that smaller drawing. So basically, our new building is going to be about 3.5 to 4 feet, slightly higher than the Hunter, but about 3.5 to 4 feet lower than the existing dorm structure. It's going to fit into that same profile. We also did, at the same locations that we did for the Hunter Hall, we did 3 superpositions of photos off-site to see what it would look like. That one that was in your package is pretty obvious. That was taken up on the new highway on 7 coming down, pressing over the hill. Again, it's hardly visible. The old dorms stick out even more than this does. You just barely see the roof. The second shot we took, this one here, was taken at the rear employee parking lot at the hospital. Again, that's our new structure. Hunter Hall is more predominant than even our new buildings. The last one, which was the most obvious, this one is physically taking off just on monument at the bottom of the hill. Right here, just outside of the intersection of the hospital, looking over the ball field. And again, on that one, the structure to the right, that's the old norm structure. The our structure is blending back into the tree line, so it's pretty non-obtrusive offset. Any questions on those?
Questions? You going to do the other drawings?
I'm sorry?
You going to do these other drawings also? The ones that are BT
Yeah,
drawings?
we'll get back on the
Okay.
architectural side. Stormwater?
Okay. Jason Dolmich, MSK Engineering. I'll give you a brief overview on stormwater. Essentially, the area and description and changed from prior application. The original building was intended to be constructed with a parking lot to the south, and was also to be an extended parking lot around the gym area, which was going to result in approximately 1.88 acres of proposed impervious area. That was the last project. The actual constructed impervious area was 1.16 acres. The new proposed dormitory and associated parking and sidewalk and patio areas will be an additional 0.57 acres. So we're actually looking at a reduction from the last application. So 1.8 acres is the original application. The total from the last project and this project is 1.73 additional acres. The last time that we were here, we did an extensive stormwater analysis, came up with a full facility design for the site, which included reductions in peak discharges from large storm events, from a 10-year storm event. That pond was partially constructed at near the rugby field and is fully intended to be completed as part of this. We did speak to facilities managers of the hospital, and I also had a conversation with the road foreman just asking whether there was any known incidents in that area, because this is obviously a sensitive watershed, and I have received no reports. That's sort of the gist. Do you have any specific questions?
Any questions? Oh, Bill.
How much larger is the stormwater, the pond going to be? Is it going to be doubled?
In terms of volume from what's there right now?
Yeah.
I don't know that specifically. The area is basically mapped out. It does need to be deeper, and there are supposed to be controls put in. Essentially, one manhole structure with a trash grate So what'll happen is it'll function to allow for storage and discharge of those larger storms at a more slower rate. Right now, it basically fills up. Once the pond capacity is exceeded, it spills over and discharges into the culvert.
Where does it discharge into?
There's two 12-inch culverts that are right on the other side of the rugby field, on the college side of the rugby field, that discharge through a stormwater piping system that discharges down Monument Avenue. So it goes to the south. If there's any swale, any sequences, it would go to the north and through the hospital.
What about
So
the,
there's a large diameter culvert that crosses Monument Avenue and heads this way.
what about the pond?
This pond?
Yep.
Okay, so this pond right now here has discharges through a culvert system, and there's a bypass culvert that goes down the bank. All of this will be collected into this pond at the completion of the pond.
Is it collected, it's not collected into it now, is it?
No.
Because last year, I know there was some issues with that.
Okay, there was some issues where?
Well, the amount of water coming out of that pond.
The amount of water coming out of the pond.
Yeah. But if it's going to go into the retention, into your,
It's going to go in here, yeah.
There's a bypass culvert, Bill, that was installed during construction. It wasn't removed. That will be taken out so everything can be diverted.
so it was going under the road, or right, if I remember, yeah.
Yeah.
And
That
down,
should have been taken out after construction, but it wasn't.
It was there for stormwater. It was basically there for uphill disturbance control, so we didn't want to be, we essentially used this area as a sediment trap during construction for the last time. But we didn't want to be sending clean pond water into that because we wanted to be just a segregating construction project.
so that'll be big enough to take the overflow from the pond and all the sheet drain?
That's correct. That's how it's been designed.
And how large an event?
It was designed for to take a 10-year event. Anything over that, it's designed to have an overflow so that if you have a large-scale event, it won't destroy the pond.
Okay, so
10-year
what,
event is 4 inches,
it would just down
100-year
over,
event is 6.8. We had 100, we all know what 100-year event feels like, but
but it'll discharge sheet drain down over the field, is that what it does?
no, there's a stabilized swale that'll be reshaped, that runs down right along the edge of that maintenance road.
Does any of this go into the Dewey Brook, in Dewey Stream Brook, whatever they call it?
Both discharges discharge to eventually, actually, okay, so we're sort of on a crest point.
Yep.
The piping culvert system discharges to Dewey Brook. Okay, and those are two 12-inch culverts, so they've got like a, I want to say, like 2 to 3 cubic feet per second capacity. So any exceedance of that goes via, basically spills over across the rugby field and discharges in the northerly direction underneath Monument Avenue through the forested area along the southern medical center. And that goes,
Does that come out on Stark Street?
comes out, crosses, I believe it crosses Elm Street and eventually makes it to Stark Street.
Yeah, it goes under Stark Street and Elm Street and goes in that
So
culvert.
they're
system.
actually two
Yeah,
watersheds.
okay.
They're all in the same
Yep.
sort of large stream watershed, but it's actually two small tributaries.
Because the reason I'm asking, Dewey Brook has increased the volume of that tremendously. There's people there losing your brother, losing his lawn, you know?
Right.
And I guess my real reasoning, is this going to have an influence on that brook, on that section of the brook?
In the end, this development will have lesser impacts for up to the 10-year storm than what is happening right now.
Okay, so it's an improvement.
So absolutely there's an improvement. So I don't know what kind of education you want, but there's 5 criteria.
Oh, did you say 5?
I'm trying to think. There's the 5 criteria that the state requires you to follow. One's the water quality volume, which is a 0.9-inch rainfall. It's supposed to cover 90% of the rainfall that happens in the state of Vermont during the year. There's the channel protection volume, which is the 1-year storm. That's a 2.3-inch rainfall. Then there's the overbank flood protection volume, which is a 4.0-inch rainfall. That's the 10-year storm. Then there's the extreme flood protection, which is the 100-year storm, and that's 6.8 inches. So we're required to meet wait a second, I'm trying to remember if we're actually required to meet the 10-year storm. I believe we reduced it. We actually voluntarily reduced the 10-year storm volume in this. But because of the acreage, I don't want to misspeak. I think we did reduce the 10-year storm volume. The channel protection we're meeting and the water quality volume we're meeting. Extreme flood event is for any impervious area, proposed impervious area over 10 acres. And we're at 1.88. So we do not have to meet that requirement. Those are for very, very large scale development. So most developments that have to meet stormwater permitting standards in the state of Vermont, even of this scale, don't qualify for that requirement. So what we do in that case is we make sure that the pond doesn't get destroyed during that event and create a bigger problem.
Barry?
I'd like to back up to where Bill started. I'm not clear on the bypass. Has that been rectified, or is it going to be rectified?
Going to be rectified.
So it's still there?
Correct.
Any other questions? Okay. Hey, Jason?
Well, not exactly on the site plan, but this letter from Terry Morris that, to MSK here, refers to this.
Yeah, we've paid, the $1,000 fee's already been paid, and the developer is fine with if there is an impact that's zonable through this project, increased flows, they're fine about doing that bypass. That can be part of the permit condition.
So part of the condition of the permit, if granted, will include these conditions by...
And we've already done the $1,000.
Yeah, that's the fee is not what I'm talking about so much as the work. That's the big thing. Okay, thanks.
Okay. What do we have next?
I'm Kimberly Kraft, I'm from Agency Architects, and we're going to go over the design for the new dorm. And as Jim and Jason so well introduced, you're familiar with the site and the two bookends of the site, Hunter Hall and then the older D&E dorms to the north. And the idea is that it is a big building in that we are providing 138 beds. So what we wanted to do is to break down the building into 3 distinct volumes so that it doesn't seem as imposing on the site. So working with that strategy, this is the north building, and then this actually is one building here, but we have it broken down into 2 volumes by this circulation space. And within each of the volumes, we've broken it down further through use of materials. And we're proposing natural materials using stained cedar and using different exposures of black siding and also board back siding. And each of these volumes they're connected by these natural cedar volumes, which are the more public areas of the building. We have common lounge areas. They're also the entry points of the building. And they are intentionally left more open as far as glass area and views. And it just invites a lot more lightness down the building structure. And these views here, this is the east elevation, which faces the main road. And this view down here is basically you're on the pond, on the pedestrian path, and you are going down into this patio area here, which is intentionally left open as a very public space. It can be used for a lot of different purposes, gatherings, meetings, and it's intended to be a multi-functional space. And the color palette has has definitely taken cues from the existing Hunter Hall, which is deep brown for some areas and then a lighter tan. And we have that in these two lines here, and we've introduced another color within the same natural tone, but it's more of a green color, and that is going to be our vertical door pattern element. Any questions?
Any questions? Yes, Bill?
Roof color.
Roof color, good question. We are going to be using the same shingle as Hunter Hall. So it's a brownish gray, asphalt.
No more red.
No more red.
That was an Act 250 permit requirement, so don't blame on my client. We got that taken out.
And we do have some standing seam, which is going to be a dark bronze, which also matches Hunter Hall.
Any other questions? I'd like to see a couple things on the drawing. One is the roof pitch. You don't give the roof pitch. That has to be on the drawing.
The roof pitch is 6 on 12 right now, and we kept it at that level for a number of reasons. One, for snow shed, and also we needed to keep it low so that we could maintain that roof bridge that is existing at Hunter Hall.
If you just put that all on your drawings where it's necessary.
Yeah, we'll just add that to the
Yeah.
drawing,
Yeah.
the elevation drawing.
Yeah.
We'll put it on that one. Yep.
And
And one other item that I failed to mention is that another concept in trying to break down the mass of the building was on the ground level. We are intending to use a stone veneer that incorporates the look of the existing retaining walls on the site so that it, in effect, visually brings down the scale of the building and so that it blends into the site a bit more. And when we first started designing this, it's a very challenging site because there's quite a drop-off, but that actually worked to our advantage because we were able to tuck that first story below the first story of Hunter Hall. So the overall impact is that we're 3 stories above that first level so that it's not as visually impacting the site.
I was curious about these elevations you have here.
Okay.
Where is your zero reference? The bottom one here is 89 feet. Where does your zero start?
Our first level is 85 feet,
Yeah.
and that is our first floor. And that is at this entry level
Okay.
at the roadside. The second floor, which is this patio level on the pond side, is 96 feet.
I was wondering why you didn't start at zero. That's what I'm asking.
Oh,
Where is your z-
well,
He goes from 100.
because we were...
That was my fault. I did this.
No, I was just,
But we were also trying to reference the existing elevations of the Hunter
Yeah.
Hall, because those relationships are very
And
important.
those elevations show up on that smaller.
Okay.
I know we noticed that.
and the other thing I have for you on all of the HBTs, I'd like to see a graphic scale. I'm a stickler for graphic scales.
That's...
Right, Jason? Any other questions? Do you have any other presentation? Any questions from the board, from the audience? Have a question? If you'd have to come up and sign in, please.
Just for a little more.
David, could you sign in and specify your name for the audience?
Glad you brought up Dewey Brook, because I was going to, it's better for
My name is David Pearson. I'm one of the muddy landowners. And I wanted to ask a little bit more about the tying together the water systems and the existing wells.
Oh, sure.
Be involved in that.
Whereabouts is your house?
I can show you on here. It's this big section. It's Susan Beal there. I'm Susan Beal's husband.
Oh, okay. What we've got is there's presently 2 wells that we're going to be utilizing for the project. One is located approximately here, which is security well, and the other one's going to be back here behind the gym. As a matter of fact, we will be doing well testing. I believe we may have monitored your well when we did Hunter Hall, I can't recall. Yeah, we've got there's a hydrogeologist involved. Of course, we have to get a state permit. And so we'll be doing well testing at that time. We'll make sure that your well is part of the monitoring project. That's not a problem.
It seems like this is going to have less impact.
Yeah, and what we're going to utilize more of is the gym. The state was more concerned about the amount of development that's occurred back here since we did the last test, which was Hunter Hall's testing. All these wells have been tested in the past. The gym, of course, is 20 years old probably, you know, when we did that test. So the state, I'm not that old. So the state said they'd like to see us do another well test just to verify it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, David. Any other questions from the audience? Jimmy, you finished? Okay. What's the board's pleasure?
What's needed here?
Pardon?
What is needed here?
If the board's comfortable with the evidence presented so far, it'd be preliminary approval with any requests for additional information. And Charlie's made 2 specific requests regarding the roof pitch and the graphic scale, but if there's additional information.
Yes, Barry?
I'll move for preliminary approval.
Okay. Milt seconds. All in favor?
Great. Let me ask one more question.
Sure.
So we've got the one double take off of this print that was a mistake. We've got the architectural prints revised, as we already talked about. And if they want to do any additional lighting on the parking lot, of course, that will be added to it. There wasn't anything else, right? Good. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
The final, well, it's 2 items left. The next item is in your packet, you received a written request for an amendment to the Apple Ridge Planned Residential Development Plan. It is a request to temporarily restrict access from that development to Silver Street, to and from Silver Street. The board could, I don't believe there's anyone here in the audience tonight to speak to that. No. So the board could discuss that tonight in deliberative session if they felt like it, or they could ask that the applicant come, and if there's any questions that the board feels that they'd like to ask.
Okay. I'll move that we close the hearing, go to executive session. Deliberative session. And if we do need any further information, we can ask for it from there.
For next time, yes, sir. Sure.
Second the motion.
All in favor? Okay.
Our final item on the agenda today, we're a little late, since we didn't meet since April, but election of officers, and as is our tradition, we typically elect a chair and a vice chair. So if there are any
I'd like to move we keep the same slate. They seem to not screwed up too badly.
All right.
I'm going to ask the same question I was asked. Do you want to do it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hell no.
That's just what I'm afraid they're going to say this time. No.
So we just need a second for that.
I'll second it.
Okay.
So
All in favor? Hurry up, come on. Jeez.
here we go.
They might back out.
So we have the same slate. So now we just need a motion to adjourn, and we can go into the deliberative session.
Does that motion include the ARP, or is that separate?
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you, Barry, for bringing that up. We do have our 3 current ARP members, are Barry, Charles, and Bill, and we do need to reappoint them if they wish to serve, or if there are others who would like to serve. Certainly let us know.
I'll repeat my first motion concerning the board.
I would ask just one question. Is there anybody else that has an inclination to serve on the ARP?
We meet typically 4:30 on Mondays before the Tuesday meetings, just to let you know.
Is that open, any of us members that, when I read it?
Absolutely.
That was a question I wanted to ask. Any of us set in on it? Even though-
Absolutely. It's completely open to the public. That's why we
Insight before we come to next.
probably publish it in the banner, and it's
In our original setup of the ARP, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it says that if there's any challenge from any of the members of the board, that it automatically has to come before the board.
for a full hearing, yes.
For a full hearing.
Yeah.
Or from the public.
Or from the
Or from the public, yeah.
It's truly meant for things that don't have any
challenge to
Opposition
it.
or challenge, yes.
Okay. Motion to adjourn? Charles makes the movement. Bill seconds. All in favor? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
We have two things.
Yeah, Mike.